the Congress headquarters, the cry is Priyanka Lao, Desh Bachao. Listen to that and then we'll come back with more.
Well, the Congress office behind me has a completely desolate, forlorn look and mood as the numbers come in. It's one of complete despondence. Not a single leader has come, but outside here you see all of these Congress supporters. They've come here with these boards, inevitable really, and these are boards that we saw even during the Lok Sabha election on counting day. I was here at that time as well. Many of these people were here at that time as well. Let's talk to some of them because it's a familiar cry. Bring in Priyanka Gandhi because the party as it is right now simply cannot win. I'm going to get in some voices here from some of these people. आपके क्या मांगे?
हमके ये मांगे राहुल आने चाहिए, प्रियंका आनी चाहिए हमारे लिए।
राहुल तो है ही, प्रियंका का है।
प्रियंका भी आना चाहिए। हमको बहुत अच्छी लगती है हमारी कांग्रेस।
आपको क्या लगता है प्रियंका अभी तक आए क्यों नहीं है?
हाँ, वही तो मेरे को प्रियंका आना चाहिए। हम लोग प्रियंका के ढूंढ रही हूँ। अब प्रियंका नहीं आएंगे तो किसी काम नहीं बनेंगे। कांग्रेस एकदम बुड़ चुके हैं। हाँ, तो हमारे लिए प्रियंका गांधी चाहिए तो चाहिए।
पर प्रियंका गांधी तो बोलते हैं कि वो आएंगे नहीं।
नहीं आना चाहिए, उनको आना चाहिए। क्यों नहीं आएंगे? आना चाहिए। हाँ, बिल्कुल आना चाहिए प्रियंका गांधी को।
क्या आपको लगता है वो सुनेंगे आपकी बात?
सुनेंगे। हाँ, प्रियंका गांधी जरूर आनी चाहिए, हमारी जरूर सुनेंगे। और हम गरीब आदमी हैं, उन्हीं को मांगते हैं। हम हमारे लिए बहुत कुछ करते हैं वो। उन्हीं के लिए आए तो सुनेंगे क्यों नहीं? जरूर सुनना चाहिए जब हम उन्हीं के लिए आए तो।
Well, this is definitely not the first time that a cry has gone up for Priyanka Gandhi to come out as a kind of savior, as a kind of messiah to really save the party. And there couldn't be a really better time. There's no inappropriate time for that cry to actually go out because the Congress will be picking up the pieces. All the numbers haven't come in just yet, but the Congress is despondent already. And many of the things that these women say is, we don't care if Priyanka does her duty. She needs to step forward because only she really can save the Congress from itself. With camera person Ankur Arora right outside the Congress headquarters on counting day. Shiv Arur for headlines today.
The big story that we are getting, of course, is from these two battleground states. Maharashtra turning out to be a fascinating story because with every passing minute, the leads are changing and many of the margins are narrow. As of now, the BJP is leading in only 105 out of 288. That's 40 short of a majority. So at 40 short of a majority, it cannot win this election only with independents. It will now need the support of a major party. Who will that be? Rahul Kawal, give us the possible routes to power first in Maharashtra.
There are only two options if the BJP were to form the next government in Maharashtra. The first one involves requesting the Shiv Sena to come on board. Now, there's been bitterness, there's been acrimony in this campaign. It's been a bruising campaign for both the BJP and the Shiv Sena. But if they don't come together, the BJP simply cannot form the government. Very often, as the final results start coming out, we see the tally increase. In this case, it's sliding towards 100 for the BJP. They're down to 106. If they bring Uddhav Thackeray on board, then they move up to 161. That seems to be the first and the most likely option for forming the government. The only other option, in case the Shiv Sena plays tough to get, is to bring in the NCP. That again would take the BJP and the NCP to 158, 13 more than the majority mark. If they don't do this, there is no other option that can be brought into play, because even if you bring all the others, and remember, bringing all the others on board is very difficult, and you bring the MNS, which has got 6 seats, you still add up to only 133. That is still 11 short of the majority mark. So as of now, this is not a perfect Sunday for Amit Shah and Narendra Modi. However, it can be argued, Rajdeep, that they've actually been able to increase their seat share substantially. From being a party which hadn't fought in 160 seats, they've been able to increase their seat share, and they've now emerged as the single largest party in Maharashtra. To say that it's a defeat is probably not correct. It's not as resounding a victory as they would have liked.
Okay, I'm going to come to you in a moment for the VIP candidates because there are several interesting results there. But let me come to our panel who rejoins us after a 1-hour break. Shekhar Gupta, Seshadri Chari, Surjit Bhalla and Mani Shankar Iyer, all with very different responses, I'm sure. Let me start with you, Mani, because you've been saying, I told you so since the morning. And there are some signs that you were right partially to the extent that the Congress has not been wiped out in Maharashtra. Do you see, therefore, in this election, if these results hold, a possibility of the rebuilding of the Congress? Or do you go along with those who are shouting slogans outside your office, Priyanka Lao, Desh Bachao?
First I want to say I don't want to say I told you so, but I did say that an election is not decided till it's decided.
Sure.
And therefore we are moving into a very interesting situation. But since the trends keep changing so rapidly, I don't know what the outcome finally will be. But I certainly maintain that the Congress party is not finished.
Now, what do you mean? What do you maintain on the slogans? Priyanka Lao, Desh Bachao.
I'm coming to that.
Yes.
I'm coming to what interests you after telling the audience what interests me. I first want to make the point that unlike the attempts you've been making since this morning, actually for the past week, to show the Congress is completely finished, it is not finished.
So you're now the number 4 party. You're below the NCP. The NCP is at 50, you're at 47.
In case,
from being the leading party to the number 4 party of Maharashtra.
Doesn't matter, we're still there with 50 seats, we're still there. We got 6 more seats in the assembly than we have in parliament. So we're still there. As for Priyanka Lao, Desh Bachao, I completely agree that if Priyanka will come and it's entirely up to her, we would greatly welcome it. But if she doesn't wish to come, if she chooses to remain out, then who are we to insist that she should come in? So if she comes, it will be a good thing
in
for
Rahul
her.
Gandhi, Mr. Arya. Outside the Congress office in New Delhi, this is an anti-Rahul protest as much as it is a pro-Priyanka protest.
I have not heard ki Rahul Bhagao, Desh Bachao. I've only heard Priyanka Lao, Desh Bachao.
Clearly they think Rahul is not up to the task.
It is, I believe that in the event that Priyanka came in, we would have a troika. We'd have the mother, the brother and the sister together leading the party. I don't see bringing Priyanka in as an attempt to pull down Rahul Gandhi.
Okay, so there's a family tree there, a three-way family tree that Manishankar Iyer is suggesting at the moment. But Surjit Bhalla...
I'm saying there are 3 horses.
Okay.
I'm saying it's a troika.
It's a troika. It's a troika.
Chariot.
Okay.
The chariot is the Congress party.
But Surjit Bhalla, what seems to have happened, and I was trying to make this point, that while the BJP has become the single largest party, it had hoped that the opposition vote would be completely fragmented. Instead, the opposition is holding its own in its specific bastions. The Shiv Sena in the Konkan, the Congress is doing reasonably in Marathwada and Vidarbha, the NCP is doing very well in Western Maharashtra, which is why we've had this fragmented verdict. Do you see this purely in psephological terms, or do you believe somewhere there's a lesson for the BJP? Had they tied up with the Shiv Sena, we'd have been done and dusted and gone home by 10 a.m.
Yeah, look, all the 3 parties, the NCP, Congress and the Shiv Sena, are getting about the same number of seats, which is about 50.
Yes.
So that's the one interesting conclusion. The second is the same model, the same sort of split verdict vote that helped in the 2014 election as well as in Haryana does not seem to have worked at all. So what you're saying is absolutely correct, that basically where the analysts went wrong was in these bastions staying with their chosen ones. Beyond that, I don't know how much influence I would bring for the larger picture, which I think is quite clear.
So we can say there's a Modi impact, but possibly not a wave or a tsunami like there was in the 2014 general election. There is a Modi impact.
There's a Modi impact, and there is something special, if you will, about Maharashtra. One state amongst many, and we saw that in the Lok Sabha elections, Maharashtra basically completely went the other way. That is to say,
we've got Nirmala Sitharaman who's joining us at the moment. Nirmala Sitharaman, welcome to the show. You are now a minister and not a party spokesperson, so perhaps you'll have to be even more careful, I fear, with what you say. But congratulations, first on your victory in Haryana, and that you've emerged the single largest party in Maharashtra. Is there any disappointment at all that you're not emerging as getting a clear majority, and you will therefore probably have to go to the door of Uddhav Thackeray and ask for his support?
Well, first of all, I'll congratulate all the party workers who both in Haryana and Maharashtra have done such a hard work to keep pace with the Prime Minister's call, even from before the Lok Sabha election, to have a Congress Mukt Bharat. And towards that end, I think slowly but steadily we are moving forward. And on that, I would congratulate and really hold hats off to all the BJP party workers. Maharashtra, I would still wait for me to give the final word. We have been successful as a party in removing the most corrupt government ever that India saw.
You know, you're saying that with this, with that emphasis, Congress Mukt Bharat, but Shekhar Gupta, things have changed in the last 1 hour. Now we are being told some breaking news that the BJP Shiv Sena will start formally talks to be led by Nitin Gadkari to form a government. Does that change, in a sense, any equations, any of the power equations? Had the BJP got a majority on its own, one would have presumed that Narendra Modi and Amit Shah could walk on water. Now perhaps they can only tiptoe into that water as a result of what's happened.
This has many interesting consequences. For example, now Akalis would be breathing in peace.
That's right.
Because BJP was on such a high that dumping of allies was seen to be the fashionable thing to do. So you dumped one in Haryana, which has worked well, but it was also not an ally with many votes. But dumping the Sena in Maharashtra was a tectonic shift, since we keep using that term and abusing it, because I've always maintained that BJP has two natural allies, and those are the Shiv Sena and Akali Dal, because both are religion-based parties. Akali Dal actually has a religious constitution. It even says that unless you're a baptized Sikh, you can't be president of the party. So these two parties are BJP's natural allies, as much as say Hindi heartlands caste-based parties or the left in the larger formulation will be the Congress party's ally. If BJP had dumped Shiv Sena and succeeded, then it would have become, attempted to become, the only flag bearer of Hindutva in India.
You're a newspaper man originally, so, and always will be. What's your headline therefore for tomorrow? Is it Saffron Surge? Is it Saffron Sunday? Or is it that Amit Shah, Narendra Modi only partly successful?
Look, since if you say saffron, it says Saffron Surge, because Shiv Sena is also saffron.
Okay.
But it is not the Modi ji, Amit ji surge that had been predicted. Because what's happened in the BJP also, Rajdeep, that over the past 6-8 months, BJP has now, its bad habits are very quick to catch. Bad habits are the most infectious viruses. So psychophancy has now become as central to BJP's discourse as it's been for the Congresses.
Seshadri Chari is smiling next to you while you're using that word, Modi ji and Amit ji. He's smiling because he realizes somewhere that
he can call them Modi ji or Amit ji. I've never even addressed Vajpayee ji in a public forum as Vajpayee as ji or Indira as ji. But having said that, if you just go back to Twitter and see the BJP ministers tweeting, they're all on Twitter now since May. 90% of their tweets and their public statements and their media statements are about our Prime Minister, Mr. Modi. Only 10% are about themselves or something.
Can we just put that to Nirmala Sitharaman? Is there a reality check? I think what Shekhar is saying, there is some level of a reality check. You cannot ignore allies.
Well, the question is, to what extent the public support is with you, and the negotiations as they go with your alliance, all these influence the final call. You're not going to ignore an ally, but certainly alliance negotiations are done each time afresh.
Have you been arrogant? The word Manini Chatterjee used is arrogant, that you've been arrogant in the last 5 months.
Absolutely not. Manini, you got us wrong. We have been working at the grassroots, and the kind of changes that we are bringing at the grassroots level with the voter accepting us cannot be with any shred of arrogance. So that, I think, is not a correct inference.
Ms. Sitharaman, would you concede that the Amit Shah gambit of going it alone in Maharashtra hasn't worked as per your calculation? Are you prepared to concede that, Ms. Sitharaman, that you attempted a solo act in Maharashtra, the script hasn't gone as per plan?
Could you repeat that? I'm not able to hear you.
Sitharaman, my question is, do you concede that the script in Maharashtra hasn't gone as per plan for the BJP? You thought you could pull this off all by yourself. That hasn't happened.
No, but here I find a certain, pardon me for the expression, a certain hesitation, a certain grudge to give the BJP the advantage that it went into the poll trying to stand up in a 5-cornered contest and come out with a larger number. The grudge there to give this space and this recognition for BJP's effort surprises me.
Okay,
5-cornered contest.
Ma'am, I take your point.
Breaks down in the last minute, and we made an impact. Please, today let us celebrate that.
Okay, I don't know, you celebrate. I'm glad to see that, all of you are dressed in saffron. You have reason to celebrate. I'm calling it Modi impact. The BJP wants me to use the word tsunami. I cannot use it. The wave word also is
nobody
used.
wants you to use a word which you don't want to use.
Okay.
But at the same time, you can't deny the BJP
Absolutely
worker
not.
the credit
I
that
congratulated you, ma'am.
In a five-cornered
Ma'am, I
contest.
started by congratulating you. I said Diwali has come early, but Ashok Lahiri, put it in psephological terms for us. Should I be calling this a wave? Is this a wave election, given what has happened?
I think my take from this election is slightly different. See, take Shiv Sena BJP combination.
No, is it a wave election? Because
it is a wave election.
It's a wave election.
It's a wave election. I'll tell you why.
Yes.
The BJP Shiv Sena combination fell down or broke up because of seat sharing arrangement.
Right.
Last time BJP in 2009 got 119 seats. This time they're fighting in more or less 288 plus minus some for minor parties. Shiv Sena 1460 and this was 288. If you just scale it up, then BJP, if it got the same percentage of votes as it got in where it fought, it should have got 111 seats. And what you are seeing now is exactly 111.
Okay.
And Shiv Sena, on the other hand, by fighting 288, instead of 44, should have got 80 seats. So what BJP has demonstrated, that it is the senior partner of the coalition, and if BJP Shiv Sena now combines to form the government, BJP has got what it would have got by combining with Shiv Sena pre-poll.
But there's something very interesting happening, Rajdeep, at this time. We're learning that the BJP has opened talks with both the NCP and the Shiv Sena. So on the one side, you've got Devinder Fadnavis and Om Mathur who will be going to Matoshri and trying to activate Uddhav Thackeray and bring him on board. And on the other hand, you've got leaders in Delhi also reaching out to the NCP, trying to bring them on board. So we'll see who's easier to do business with.
That's the question, Nirmala Sitharaman, that I keep asking all BJP leaders on this program. If you have a photograph of Sharad Pawar on one side and Uddhav Thackeray on the other, who would you look to and smile at? Would you smile at Sharad Pawar or an Uddhav Thackeray? Who's the person you want to do business with today?
Well, I don't think I will go against the public verdict. That's more important.
The public verdict is what? Public verdict is for an alliance government.
You can see how it is, and that will give you the answer. I don't think I can say anything more on it.
No, I'm told that there are businessmen who are close to the BJP and NCP who would prefer a BJP-NCP government. Is that true?
Well, I can't really react to something which you've been told. That's not what my party has told me.
What do I do, ma'am? It's very difficult otherwise to get you guys, get you politicians to commit to anything. So I cannot reveal my sources, but I'm told that the NCP would, there are people who would like in India's richest state, most industrialized state, to have an NCP-BJP government.
Well, as I said, I can't comment on speculations. At the moment, we are definitely working to strengthen BJP's position everywhere. We want to work for Congress Mukt Bharat. At the moment, the results are coming out. Let's see what the parliamentary party...
it's interesting. The interesting thing, other part, Rahul, is all the BJP chief ministerial candidates are winning. And I'm personally delighted that Narayan Rane has lost, because no one symbolized to my mind, the kind of corruption that had taken place in Maharashtra politics than Narayan Rane, who had completely denuded the entire Konkan area of broken all environmental laws. So I'm glad he's losing. But all the BJP candidates are winning.
But there's a big difference. So far, nobody really thought of Nitin Gadkari as having a real chance to be chief minister. Given the fact that you now need someone with stature who can bring both the Shiv Sena and the BJP together and get them to work, that increases manifold Nitin Gadkari's chances. He isn't Modi's ideal candidate to be Chief Minister of Maharashtra, but now Fadnavis is way too junior to be able to pull it together, the caste equation.
May I? No,
yes,
I think there's an important point in that. But the fact is, Nitin Gadkari has just acquired one of the best residences in Delhi, directly opposite Sonia Gandhi's house. He's got a huge garden. Why are you denying the poor man? Seshadri Chari, are you going to send Gadkari back to Mumbai just as he was settling down in Delhi?
I think that residence in Malabar Hill is, I think, Varsha is not particularly bad.
It's not a bad one, but but I think to take the point that Rahul is making, as a result of this verdict, do the chances of someone, and I'm going to make this point, the caste factor does play a role in Maharashtra politics. The fact, in a hung assembly, will you go with a Brahmin candidate, whether it's a Gadkari or a Fadnavis? Do you accept that caste is a factor when choosing a chief minister?
No, this time
Caste is not a factor?
This time caste has not been a factor as far as the voters are concerned in Maharashtra. Caste
It will not be a factor when you choose your chief minister.
Not at all. We did not choose our candidates on the basis of caste, which would have. Otherwise, all political parties are tempted to do. This time, we have not done it. Number one.
So you are giving hope to Gadkari.
If you see,
Nitin Gadkari, Deshastha Brahmin, Devendra Fadnavis Brahmin, both will have a chance.
We are not looking at the caste combination as Kokanastha Brahmin or Deshastha Brahmin, and since you are from Maharashtra, you would add Karade Brahmins also.
No, I am from the smallest Brahmin community, the Gaud Saraswats. We have no chance. But I want to come, Nirmala Sitharaman.
Before you go to Nirmala, we have to send a compliment to somebody who we've ignored so far.
Yes.
I think when all the votes are counted, we'll have to say that the only man who called this election right was Mr. Anand Geete, who even after his party split with the BJP carried on being in the cabinet because I think he could see the writing on the wall.
He could see the writing
better than anybody else could.
To discuss the internal dynamics.
By
I
the
want
way,
your
just
thoughts
last
on
quick
this.
point.
Yes.
If you bring in Gadkari to work with the Shiv Sena, you're going to have problems from day one.
Absolutely.
They don't get along at all. They think, Uddhav Thackeray thinks Gadkari is one of his biggest enemies and the biggest problems. They will have
Can I raise that with Nirmala Sitharaman? Nirmala Sitharaman as a woman, what about Pankaja Munde in all this? Young, relatively non-controversial at the moment. Why not make a woman OBC? You know, you have done well in Marathwada. Is this a factor? You know, Seshadri Chari says caste is not a factor in choosing a chief minister. That's said in television studios. But up there, Eknath Khadse, Maratha is leading also.
Should I say?
Yes, ma'am.
I've heard so many parameters in the selection of a chief minister from your studio in the last 5 minutes, which I think I'll honestly pass it on to the party parliamentary board, but I'm not sure the factors of caste and the factors of who's inimical to somebody else. Oh my God, no. BJP, I don't think has people who are inimical to anybody. As an organization, our leaders think about our parties, you know, pluses and minuses and challenges. It is not based on caste.
Madam, with due regard, when you choose candidates for constituencies, you do choose caste. Please understand, the Maratha factor is an important factor. Eknath Khadse is a Maratha. These factors do play a role. Someone else is an OBC. Are you saying these don't matter? Pankaja Munde is the daughter of your old leader.
With all due respect for the analysts in you, I would still say parties and parties' priorities in choosing a candidate and in respecting an alliance or negotiating with an alliance are based on far more realistic factors than idealistically what has been spoken in the last 5 minutes. So I'll take your inputs, but I wouldn't want to vouchsafe that that's the way the party thinks. No, I'm sorry. We don't aggravate caste. We don't aggravate enmity.
Do send our inputs to Amit Shah and Narendra Modi when they have the parliamentary board at 6 p.m. today. But Sanjay Jha joining us. Also joining us,
Anil Desai
is joining us of the Shiv Sena. Anil Desai, why don't you just settle it before I go to Sanjay Jha? The quick question, is it true that you got a phone call from Devendra Fadnavis? He wants to meet Uddhav Thackeray. Is it true? And Nitin Gadkari will start negotiations?
No, not yet. Not yet, to be precise. But there are references being made, and we are hopeful that proposal of that sort would come to Uddhavji because people of Maharashtra have given a clear mandate that it is favouring BJP and Shiv Sena. They have literally trounced NCP and Congress.
So the Shiv Sena's original problem was you didn't want to be the junior partner to the BJP. Now with the BJP at 114, the Shiv Sena at 54, are you prepared to play second fiddle to the BJP? Would you like to support them from the outside? Would you like to join a BJP-led government?
See, every regional party has a stand to play its role in the state. Likewise, I mean, it's no question that playing second fiddle to anybody. We have our basics with us, and Uddhavji is the party president of Shiv Sena who will take a call, considering that we were together for last 25 years. And this was not only out of political compulsions that we were with BJP. It was besides that, it was a bond of Hindutva which made us go together.
Anil Desai, you're hinting at a possible alliance. Me Marathit bolu ka, somebody told me, adits varsha, 2.5 years BJP, 2.5 years Shiv Sena. You're smiling when I said that. Isn't it true that this is the kind of negotiation you want to do? Karnataka model for Maharashtra, 2.5 years BJP Chief Minister, 2.5 years Shiv Sena Chief Minister. Is it true or not?
I don't know. Now I'm gathering all this, I'm getting all this from the media, and whatever their proposal comes, whatever their offer comes, that will be seen in the light of the mandate given by the people of Maharashtra.
But would you like it?
Uddhavji will be the final
you wanted
authority.
The chief ministership.
As a president, he will take a call.
You wanted the chief ministership. Would you be ready with 2.5 years of chief ministership?
2.5 years of chief ministership or a whole term, I mean, these are the things, I mean, which need to be offered by BJP.
But Mr. Desai, at this time, parallel to the discussions that are on with the Shiv Sena, Mr. Desai, at this time, parallel to the discussions on with the Shiv Sena, there's a meeting among Sharad Pawar, Ajit Pawar and Supriya Sule, where they're also figuring out what role the NCP can play in a BJP-led government. Is there a concern that if the Shiv Sena plays hard to get, the BJP could go with the NCP?
I mean, it will be the call taken up by the parliamentary board of BJP if they really think on those lines that they need to go with NCP, considering that people of Maharashtra were fed up with NCP Congress rule and they have trounced them, and the alternate which has come, that is of BJP and Shiv Sena, and people of Maharashtra would decide, and more than that, it will be like, I mean, playing truant as far as their people of Maharashtra's call was given.
Okay.
So BJP has to take a final call. I don't think that they will be really belying the hopes of people of Maharashtra if they think of NCP to go with them with a kind of truck if they are thinking of.
Okay, Anil Desai, you seem to have got the best case scenario for you. This is the ideal scenario that the Shiv Sena was hoping for, where now the BJP has to come to your door. So you can smile. I see you've got nice cartoons of Bala Saheb Thackeray behind you. So the legacy of Bala Saheb may live on.